The storm came without warning, a feral beast tearing through the heavens. Waves rose like the fists of an angry god, crashing against the ship with a force that tore planks from its hull. Adrian Marlowe clung to the mast, saltwater stinging his eyes as he prayed to a god he no longer believed in. When the mast finally gave way, snapping like a brittle twig, the world dissolved into chaos. Adrian awoke on a shore unlike any he had ever seen. The sand beneath him was not the golden hue of paradise but a deep, unnatural crimson. It clung to his skin like blood, damp and sticky. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of salt and decay. Above him, the sky hung low and grey, as if mourning the lives lost to the sea. He staggered to his feet, every muscle aching from the storm's wrath. The beach stretched endlessly in both directions, and behind him, a dense jungle loomed, its foliage dark and uninviting. But it was the silence that unsettled him most. No birds called, no insects buzzed. Even the waves lapping at the shore seemed muted, as if the island itself had forgotten how to breathe. Adrian turned toward the jungle, the weight of isolation pressing heavily on his chest. His footsteps sank into the crimson sand as he moved, each step feeling as though the ground sought to swallow him whole. Just as he reached the tree line, a voice broke the oppressive silence. "You should not have come here." He spun around, his heart pounding. A woman stood a few yards away, her bare feet sinking into the strange sand. Her hair was dark and wild, cascading over her shoulders like a river of shadows. Her eyes, a piercing green, locked onto his with an intensity that made him shiver. "Who are you?" Adrian managed, his voice hoarse. "My name is Alara," she said, her tone soft but firm. "This place is not safe for you. Leave now, while you still can." Adrian laughed bitterly, gesturing to the endless sea. "And where exactly am I supposed to go? My ship is gone. Everyone else is dead." Ilara's gaze faltered, and for a moment, she looked almost sad. "Then you're already part of it. The island has claimed you." Before he could ask what she meant, she turned and walked toward the jungle, her figure fading into the shadows of the trees. Against his better judgment, Adrian followed. What other choice did he have? The village lay hidden within the jungle, a collection of crude huts made from wood and palm leaves. The people, a small, ragged group of men, women, and children, watched Adrian with wary eyes as he entered. Ilara led him to the largest hut, where an elderly man sat on a stool, his face etched with deep lines and his eyes clouded with age. "This is Adrian," Ilara said simply. "He washed ashore after the storm." The old man studied him for a long moment before speaking. "You should not have come here," he said, echoing Ilara's earlier warning. Adrian's patience wore thin. "I didn't choose to come here," he snapped. "I was shipwrecked. And if you people know something about this place, I'd appreciate a straight answer." The old man sighed heavily. "This island is cursed," he said. "The Crimson Whisper rules these shores. It is a creature older than time, a god betrayed and imprisoned beneath the waves. It feeds on those who come here, using their souls to strengthen its prison. The red sand you see, that is all that remains of the ones who came before you." Adrian felt a chill creep down his spine. "You expect me to believe that?" "Believe what you will," the old man said. "But if you value your life, you will not go near the sea at night." That night, Adrian lay awake in one of the huts, the old man's words echoing in his mind. He could hear the faint whisper of the waves in the distance, beckoning him. It was absurd, he thought. A cursed island. A god trapped beneath the sea. He'd heard sailors' tales before, but this one took the prize. And yet, something about the crimson sand, the oppressive silence, and the haunted look in Ilara's eyes made him wonder. Unable to resist, Adrian slipped out of the hut and made his way to the shore. The moon hung low, casting a pale light over the crimson beach. As he approached the water, he heard it, a voice, soft and melodic, like the hum of a distant song. Adrian. He froze. The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It was beautiful, intoxicating, and yet it filled him with a deep, primal dread. "Come closer," the voice whispered. "I can give you what you seek." "What do you know about me?" Adrian demanded, his voice trembling. The waves seemed to pulse with the voice's rhythm. "I know your pain. I know your regrets. I can take them from you. All you have to do is come to me." Adrian took a step back, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. "You're the Crimson Whisper, aren't you?" A low chuckle rippled through the air. "I am many things. But I can be your salvation, Adrian. Or your destruction. The choice is yours." The next morning, Elara found him sitting on the beach, his face pale and his eyes distant. "You heard it, didn't you?" she asked. Adrian nodded. "It wants something from me. It wants your soul," she said bluntly. "And if you give it what it wants, it will destroy us all." Adrian looked at her, his jaw tight. "Then how do we stop it?" Elara hesitated before answering. "There is a way. But it requires a great sacrifice." The story reaches its climax as Adrian confronts the Crimson Whisper, standing knee-deep in the crimson-stained sea. The creature rises from the depths, a mass of writhing shadows and glimmering eyes. Its voice is a symphony of temptation and terror. Adrian's final act is one of defiance and sacrifice. He plunges a shard of obsidian, a relic left by the island's ancient guardians, into his chest, binding the creature and himself together in eternal imprisonment beneath the waves. As the islanders watch from the shore, the crimson sand begins to fade, washed clean by the tide. Elara whispers a prayer for Adrian, knowing his sacrifice has saved them all, for now. But as the waves recede, a faint whisper lingers in the air, carried on the wind. The Crimson Whisper is silent, but not gone.